let's just start. Let's just go with step one, hooks. What's a hook? A hook gains attention, that is favorable, that creates qualification and increases purchasing. That's the ideal. I don't always get hooks to do that, but that's what I strive for. It's not just enough to get somebody's attention. Hey, free sex and beer will get lots of people's attention. But they say, now that I got your attention, let me tell you about the gospel, right? You've lost everybody's attention. So a hook can't just be about attention. We want favorable attention. We want attention like, oh my God, I better learn this because it could affect my next day, my next week, my next month, my next year. So I'm prone to be open to advice if it's advice that is timely to me. Qualified attention. Ideally, a hook, the more narrow you make the hook, the more effective it is. The problem is if we make it too narrow, 100% of $1 is still $1. 1% of $1 million is a lot more than $1. So our goal is to try to make it as narrow as possible to a subsegment of a market while having the fattest, biggest subsegment that's going to produce the most amount of profits. And I really try to do this. I can't always do this, but I always try to hook them in a way that will prejudice them to purchase. So, free credit repair. First of all, we're targeting a market that has bad credit. Second of all, the emphasis is on free, right? That's a hole we have to work out of. It's not impossible. But it's like, I want to have attention where it's like, imagine you could purchase something that will make your life better. I'm interested. I like that hook because people are like, I'm interested in purchasing stuff. The implication of buying is already baked into it. And so these are the hooks that I try to get after. So going through these many, many slide decks of doom, 7 best hooks that I came up with and 7 additional edge case hooks. I'm going to give you the specifics and then we'll break down the generalities of them. These are the elements. These are the elements in these hooks. So when you analyze the material that I give you, and if you're ever trying to figure out how anybody's doing anything, try to isolate the elements from the application. So you say, okay, these people do this thing specifically, but what are the commonalities amongst them? So the commonalities amongst hooks is they're novel, and or shocking, and or engaging, controversial, specific, exciting, dramatic, unpredictable, bold, emotional, urgent, topical. Some of these are usually present in any good hook that you will see in your marketing. And so these are the 7 that I try to default to if inspiration or creativity doesn't hit me. I know if I sit down to create a presentation, I typically am going to start it with one of these 7 or one of these other hooks which are more edge case. They're less likely to happen, okay? And my favorite hook of all time, I don't know why I don't use it more. Here's what's good about this training we're doing here. It's forcing me to be more disciplined with what I do. I usually just sit there with it and say, I think I'm going to do this today, right? I've never systemized it myself because it's all in the head. But I'm like, it's better on the paper. And so I look through this and I'm like, these are so good. So Pop Quiz is one of my favorite ways to start a webinar. It's interactive, and we want to have conversations, not presentations in our webinars. It's fast-paced if you do it right. You want to make it punchy. A really good way to intro anything is make people feel like they have to hold on to the edge of your skirt in order to keep up with it. And now, Chris, I'm talking to you specifically. No, I'm kidding. They just want to, they're like, I can't be distracted because I might miss something important. So your average webinar is going to start with, lock the doors, duct tape the kid's mouth, shut off Skype, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, just be cool. And then you don't have to tell them to do that stuff, right? That's why I never start a webinar off that way. I'm like, if I want them to lock the doors, grab their favorite beverage and settle in or any of that nonsense, right? I'm just going to captivate them. They're like, I better not take my eye off the screen because I might miss something important. And that's what was really good about Pop Quizzes is it's like that. Objections, too. You want to hit objections as soon as possible. People buy when their limits are removed more so than when the possibility of gain is presented. Remove somebody's limits and they're more likely to buy from you. If you show them how to make $1 million and they don't think they can make $1, I don't care what you teach them, you will lose. But if you remove that excuse that keeps them poor, they will get rich as a byproduct. So we want to go after objections as fast as possible, and we can put benefits in there as well. So YouTube Secrets was a program that we published many years ago with a guy named Zane Miller. Zane came to me, had this cool stuff on YouTube, didn't know how to sell it. We said, cool, we'll help you. We partnered together. A lot of my webinars are like that. And this is how we started. We say, question 1. Now, by the way, this is back in like when Gangnam Style was popular, right? Which makes me as old as Moses in the internet world. But we're trying to impress upon the audience here how big YouTube is, because at this point, the awareness of the market is that YouTube isn't important. The market is like, that's weird cat video stuff, right? So this is one of the ways that we do it. How many unique visitors? So I go, to start this webinar off, I got a quiz for you. By the way, I got the inspiration from this from watching the movie Speed. You ever seen the movie Speed? Pop quiz, hot shot. That's how I thought about this. 2008, I did my first ever quiz for Product E-Class. Pop quiz, hot shot. I literally started the webinar that way. It was a little bit more timely then. Now that nobody's ever remembered Speed anymore, we don't do that anymore. But at the time, pop quiz, hot shot. How many unique visits on YouTube each month? Is it A, 100 million, B, 250, C, 500 million, D, 750 million, or E, a billion? Type your answer into the chat. This is how you get engagement right away, interaction right away. Type it into the chat. And then they answer. And then I say, boom, the answer is $1 billion plus. They watch over 6 billion hours of video. That's pretty impressive since there are only about 7 billion people on Earth. Quick aside here, if you're ever using statistics, we'll talk more about this later, they have to have a comparison. Otherwise, numbers are meaningless. Stats are not very effective, by the way, for conversion. But in this particular instance, the point is made. This is bigger than you think. Way bigger than you think. You would be a moron not to make it a priority. That's the implication. That's what we did there on that first one. Question number 2, how much traffic from YouTube comes outside the US? Is it A, 40, B, 50%, C, 60%, D, 70%, E, 80%, boom, 70%. See, I want them to get some stuff wrong. Because they're like, okay, I need to learn this stuff. So don't make the questions all easy. Let them get some of them wrong. It's not always the biggest number. But my point is that it's growing, and it's getting bigger, and it's reaching all over the world. Question 3, how many subscribers does the most subscribed channel on YouTube have? 9 million, 11 million, 13 million, 15 million, E, none of the above. Put A, B, C, D, or E into the chat right now. And they got to answer it quickly, otherwise they're not going to answer. So now they're just like, bang, 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 I got to go. 13 million, then specifically, it was PewDiePie at the time. 13 million, by the way, is laughable now, isn't it? I got dudes with 13 million subscribers calling me up who are broke because they can't even monetize it. But back then, it was huge. And I said, what does he do? He's a video game commentator. The whole point of this comment is to make them think, Jesus, if something as stupid as that can work, maybe my thing can work. Everything has an implication to it. That's why we're putting this out there. Question, YouTube is the first, second, third, or fourth largest search engine in the world, A, B, C, or D? The answer is the second. It's bigger than Bing, Yahoo, Ask, and AOL combined. Again, dated, but you understand the point, right? Great way to make a comparison. It's bigger than X, Y, Z, and 1, 2, and 3 combined. Again, that's one of the most effective ways to use statistics. And then question 5, doesn't it make sense to actively have YouTube as a core part of your online marketing approach? The last question is always this hook question to really hook them into whatever the content is. And the answer is yes. So, and these are all animated. So it's like, and the answer is yes. And now they're like, okay, interesting. You got my attention. This isn't a webinar that I can zone out in. This isn't like every other webinar I've ever went to. Another example, this one's even better. So this was the updated version. So we did Product E-Class again this year. So a webinar that I've ran since 2008, largely unchanged, still works in 2023. And it goes like this. To kick off this webinar, I have 5 simple true or false questions. I kind of like true or false better in most instances because it's 2 things instead of 5 things or 4 things. It's a T or an F in the chat, right? This is the evolution of the pop quiz. So I have 5 simple true or false questions. Your answers are important to your future financial independence. True or false? You have to be good at marketing to be able to sell information products. Answer, true, kind of. However, there's an astonishingly easy hack to a certain type of marketing that I can teach you in a few short minutes that can quickly bring in money regardless of experience. So what are we doing here? We're killing objections, right? Do I have to be good at marketing? Yeah, but I have a hack. Okay, interesting. True or false? You need to be an expert to create an information product. False. In fact, there's ways to turn the tables on the normal gurus in any market and use your lack of experience to win over customers and pull in profits. All these are bullet points, these blind bullets that any good copywriter should master, right? What never to eat on a plane kind of stuff, right? But we're framing them under a true or false statement, and now they don't seem to be so hypey. They seem to be more understood and accepted by the market. True or false? With all the free information out there, there's less demand to buy info products. The answer is false, and I give a reason why. I essentially say it's like an itch that creates more, it's like a scratch that creates a bigger itch. They get the free stuff, and it's kind of almost good enough, but it's not quite good enough. And I show a statistic that proves the market is actually going up. True or false, all the good ideas have been taken. False, we talk about AI. True or false, speed is more important than ever when it comes to cashing in on the enormous profits awaiting online for you to claim that are rightfully yours. And the answer to that is 100% true, which is our focus today. So always notice how the last question really buttons it down and lets us launch into the content. The power of the true-false. I mean, we've all seen a lot of webinars, right? Who starts like that? What we're doing is making it exciting, making it engaging, getting interaction, killing objections, and increasing benefits at the same time. The best webinars that I've done is where I can figure out the one thing that does 1,000 things. That's what I'm trying to do. What's one act that I can do that can accomplish multiple things simultaneously? And the true-false or the multiple choice is a really effective good one. You can even delay it. You don't have to do it right away in your webinar. If you look at, this one is the Amazing.com promo swipe. So when you get your hands on this, this is a very unique webinar because we used to be an affiliate for Amazing.com, and our bonus package was so good, we went back and convinced them to promote our bonus package to all the people that didn't buy through us as an affiliate. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And so we did this webinar. I have 2 quizzes in this webinar. I have one during the content section, because this can be applied anywhere, and I have one in the intro after the warm-up. Pop quiz, the number of third-party sellers, blah, 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 right? You can see it when we give you the slide deck. Same stuff. So that's my first hook, pop quiz. This is my favorite hook, the second one. It's, for most of you, it'll be the easiest thing that you can do to improve your webinars. It's just to use this hook. I used to use it all the time. Just pitch up front. It's safer? I think it's safer. For most of you, it's safer because when you walk the edge of, I'm really here to help you, nope, I'm going to sell you, right? That's a little bit more technical. It's a little bit more challenging. So I think this way is safer. I think it's easier, and it's unique. I like unique. That's part of being a hook. My friend Dr. Alan Bernard, who pretty much controls all the IP now of The Goal, which was this multi-million copy book, he has a saying, impossible unless, and I like that. It's impossible to sell somebody from the first slide of the webinar unless you figure it out, okay? So I'll give you some examples. So WP Monster, this was an interesting one. We did this webinar with Jay Boyer and John Rhodes, and has an interesting, great backstory. So this is how I set it up. Important. We're going to be sharing some great tips and tricks today. You're going to learn something. Your time will be well spent. However, my chief goal is to sell you something at the end of this training. Why not? Hey, come on. You're going to have some cool stuff, but I want to sell you. And then I said, here's my reason for being up front. Because there's a crazy, weird, almost unbelievable set of circumstances around how this offer came to be, and these circumstances have forced an amazing deal, the likes of which you have hardly ever seen anywhere ever seriously. You tell me people aren't like, what is it? I might want to buy it. Okay, I got to know what this thing is. Super powerful. So I said, so this is how I button it down. So if you can, hang in with me until the end, come for the content, stay for the pitch. It will be worth it to at least take a look. That's a great line, isn't it? Come for the content, stay for the pitch. I'm telling my audience that, right? This is me saying the quiet part out loud. And instead, now think about these frames. Anytime you can reverse a frame, it's powerful. Most webinars are bribing people to stay. Hey, you know, if you stay, I'm going to give you this free ebook, which is worthless, really, at the end of the presentation, if you stay. I almost never do that. I've done that maybe once ever in my life. Instead, I'm saying, hey, if you can stay, I don't know if you can or not. It might be worth it. And they're like, no, dude, I'm totally staying. So instead of me convincing them, they're convincing me. One of the most powerful frames that you could ever pull off. So that's baked into there. I just told them right up front. We want to pitch you. We got content. Yeah, that's there. But the deal is so crazy. And then we don't mention the offer again for 47 more slides or whatever the number is, right? That's an open loop. That's a hook. Powerful stuff. Launchpad. Pound for pound, our most successful webinar we've ever done. Literally, when you look at the number of customers we reached and the money that came from that was this. I remember that because the first time we did this webinar, I was talking to Russell Brunson shortly after that, and he was getting ready to pitch for the first time at 10X conference, Grant Cardone's. And he goes, I've never sold $1 million in 60 minutes from a webinar presentation. He's like, I've done that on follow-ups and everything, but I want to do a presentation where I start at 0 and 60 minutes later I do $1 million. And I said to him, like a cocky bastard that I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool when you do one of those. It's neat. It's not as cool as you think though, right? And then he goes out and 10x and kills it because I was giving him some advice on what he could do to pitch it and all that kind of stuff. But this was the first time we did Launchpad. Now this is the second time we did Launchpad. I could not find the slide deck for the first one ever. It's gone. I don't know. So this is the second time we did Launchpad. But still, you're here today. Fast Track exclusive, AMZ Launchpad software. They know they're coming to the webinar because we have some amazing software that if they can get their hands on it, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. So I said AMZ Launchpad. And then we have a quote because we had a $25,000 mastermind back then. And we had a quote, the best rank approach I've ever seen. So they know it's a software. They have one mysterious quote, that's one line, and then this is how I open it. Today's webinar, exactly how the Launchpad software works and why it is without a doubt the single greatest advantage any Amazon business can hope to have. Why we're putting an extreme limit on the amount of sellers who have access to the AMZ Launchpad. Exactly how to put the AMZ Launchpad to work in your business ASAP. To get there though, we must first set the stage. And then we don't talk about the software again for like 62 slides or something like that. They're like, I want that software so bad. What do people want? What they can't have. Here's this awesome thing. Now, by the way, this is procedurally done intentionally. Because I'm like, they will not understand the value of this offer until they understand what's at stake. I can't cast pearls before swine. I have to let them understand what's at stake. And so we have to break down all of the things that are working against them and then how the software solves that. So this is all legit. This is all true. But damn, isn't it a good hook? I got this software. It's the greatest software ever. So the exclusive few people who've ever seen it, which was like 40 people at the time, you are of Fast Track, meaning you are a subsegment of a subsegment of a subsegment of a customer. So you bought something and then you bought something else and then you bought something else. That's the only people seeing this webinar. So when I've told you what's the greatest hook, the one that is most exclusive to a subsegment, so it has that in there too. And then it has that starter. Copy eClass, the famed, one of the first webinars I ever did in my life. On this webinar, I believe I'm uniquely qualified to give you the best copywriting formula on the planet, perhaps better than any other you've learned anywhere else, even if you paid good money for it. Best of all, I can do it in under an hour. I mean, why not, right? In return, I want us to agree that I can't teach you everything you need to know in one measly 1-hour webinar. So naturally, I'll make an offer at the end of this training, and I'm letting you know now because the way it works is those who sign up first get the best bonuses and the most bang for the buck. Damn, son. That was like 27-year-old Jason Flatley. That's how I went back then. And that's some good stuff. I'm like, I should do that more often. Just flat out put it in. If you can set the frame, you can do almost anything. With the right frame, you can get away with almost anything. My agenda is to give you the best 60 minutes of copywriting you've ever heard to prove to you that my offer at the end is an incredible deal. Sound good? That's all I'm doing. I'm setting a frame. If I can do X, then you will buy from me. If I can't do X, don't buy from me. Very powerful hook. Can be the whole frame. So we had this software once upon a time called Enlighten, which was a really cool funnel builder back then when nobody knew what funnel builders were. It predates ClickFunnels and the like by forever. And I found this email from Will dated Monday, October 29, 2012, almost 11 years to the day. And I said, so for WP Enlighten, here's what I'm thinking. We do a launch party. We simply tell people we're launching on that day, and we're going to do a product demo. No training, no educate for 40 minutes and sell something for 15 minutes, just a product demo where I show all cool kinds of different stuff the software can do. And so that was the whole frame. Hey, we're so excited about this new software, we're going to show it off, and because in our excited craze, we're going to offer a deal we would never offer under normal circumstances to celebrate the launch of this new thing. And that was the whole frame. Okay? Now, it can be delayed. So on Product E-Class, this is on slide 15. It's not immediately. I said, my promise, I'm going to give you the easiest path to financial success with selling info products with the hope that it excites you so much you'll invest in what I have to offer at the end. And if that's the case, I have a special deal for the early action takers. So you don't have to lead with that as a hook. So these things are transplantable, as we mentioned earlier. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, fortune teller. This one's really powerful. It's simple. It's a frame that anybody can use. It's universal. It applies to everybody. Cold reading. You guys are familiar with that at all? Like, I can memorize three scripts for cold reading, and I could talk to any of you, and you think, he knows me so well. The cold reading is very powerful. If you don't know what it is, you should consider looking it up. I don't get into that because I think it is just dangerous stuff. But it's almost like a cold read. Universal, you could apply it to anybody. It's simple, it sets up the sale, and it deals with objection. Everybody wants to know their future. Everybody wants a fortune teller, okay? So that's how we do an Affiliate-Rama. Let's play a game. Everybody loves to play games. It's a good hook. Let's play a game. I'll pretend to be a fortune teller. You pretend to be my client, so there's the assumption that you will be my client, right? I'm going to try to read your future for 2015. Tell me if any of the following is accurate to you. Damn, that's a good frame, right? What a hook. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm going to pretend to be one, though. And you could pretend to be my customer. But what happens when people do that in their mind? Pretend to suck on a lemon, right? And your mouth will water. So it doesn't matter whether it's pretend or not. This is hypnotic suggestion. Tell me if any of the following is accurate to you. You can even phonologically mark words if you wish to. Okay? Prediction. And now this is where I read this and I'm like, 5th grade language. Don't write language the way I'm doing it here. Make it so a 5th grader can read it. You know, and then I go into their objections or their challenges. Predictions. There will be more fantastic opportunities in 2015 than you'll ever hope to act upon properly. I don't know what I was doing back then, but the objection is they're going to be overwhelmed with bright, shiny objects. That's how I'd say it now. Prediction. There's going to be more bright, shiny objects than ever. And you don't got no sunglasses to prevent those bright, shiny objects from burning your corneas, okay? Prediction. You'll have to learn new things this year if you have any hopes to meet your financial goals. That's a pretty good one because it implies that they're going to have to invest time and or money to learn new things. Prediction. You'll discover or rediscover that a superior understanding and implementation of the fundamentals will almost always trump clever techniques, loopholes, and transitory opportunities. Don't write like this. I'm reading this and I'm pulling my hair out. Speak to a 5th grader. But the whole point of this is prediction. You'll have to begrudgingly admit that the fundamentals will trump the tactics and strategies any day of the week, whether you like it or not. Predictions. Making money online won't get noticeably easier or harder. It'll stay about the same. And these are really good. And all of these are built to sell the offer at the end. Because I have an offer at the end that is fundamental, it is boring, it doesn't do anything groundbreaking or new, but it has a massive advantage in the fact that it can be deployed with a click of a button. That's essentially what I'm setting up. So I'm countering all these objections before they occur. Oh, well, that's not a new thing. Oh, well, that's blah, blah, blah. And that's what the whole point of the fortune teller is. If these things contain truth, then what you need to change, or then what needs to change to make this year your year? Great question, by the way, to start any webinar with. What needs to change for you to change? Gets them in that mind state to be open, okay? And that's really powerful. Let's play a game. Pretend to be a fortune teller. Great way to start it. You can use that anywhere, but it's a really good hook. Number 4, hype but true. Hype is amoral, meaning that hype in and of itself is neither good nor bad. How it's used determines whether it's good or bad. Hype, it's interesting. Clickbait, I mean, what works better than clickbait? There's a reason why all the YouTubers do it. It works. The idea is to be so clickbaity that you hit that line where people are upset but not quite get to that point, pushing the limit. The bigger the claim, the more attention. Just as simple as that, okay? So this is how we started ASM3. This beats anything I previously showed you. So remember how hooks are micro-targeted? This hook wouldn't work on cold traffic, but this hook would work to an audience that I have really good rapport with, who they've seen me put 25, 50, 100 offers in front of them over the years. This is in 2013. Now this is blind, by the way. They don't know what this is coming into the webinar. So blind offers versus non-blind offers. A blind offer is, this thing will change your life, it'll be fantastic, it'll be amazing, it's one of a kind, but what is it? We've got to come to the webinar to find out, okay? Blind webinars are very dangerous because they can increase people being upset with you, because it's always a letdown when you reveal what it is. What never to eat on a plane? Nothing. That was the answer to that bullet point. Oh, well, that sucks, right? But this beats anything I previously showed you. It's hypey, but is it true? In this particular case, it was true, okay? ASM4, we started calling it the destiny opportunity. Again, it was blind. The destiny, I mean, you can't get any more grandiose than that, right? But the reality is I had about 600 testimonials, and I never had an offer like that before. So was it true? I think it was. Now here's how we start this webinar. Meaning of life. Is it wealth? Is it happiness? For me, it's contentment. Contentment means no purpose equals discontentment. It took me 31 years, and I have now finally found my purpose. I mean, we're really going in, aren't we? Right? God put me on this earth to sell you this opportunity. You wouldn't believe this was true if I was telling you. This is why I had to bring the receipts. I literally say this stuff in public, right? God put me on this earth to sell you this opportunity. I was made to help you specifically with this, and I will put my heart and soul into giving you my best. I owe it to you. My fear is if I don't do my best, you might not say yes, and that scares me more than you can believe. That somebody wouldn't buy what I'm selling, right? Why? Here's why. And then I show a testimonial. Wouldn't you love for that to happen to you? And then I switch to the thing. On the surface, the opportunity doesn't seem that incredible, but looks are deceiving. Do me a favor, just listen unbiased. Can you do that for me? There's a commitment, right? Then I ask the audience, is the following hype? I'm going to show you how to build $1 million business in less than 12 months, and that's not even the best part. That's an open loop. Okay? And then we go on from there. Damn. Either somebody buys or they told me to get lost. But there's no in between there. But that's really powerful. And then I brought it. I really did bring it. And at the time, it was the single biggest promotion ever in the history for an affiliate. And then we beat it with the next one, which was ASM5. The single greatest new economy first-generation wealth vehicle. So this is, again, blind. First-generation wealth vehicle, single greatest. Now, we started having to get more general here because I was reaching so many different audiences. We were selling this thing outside of biz oppers and outside of people that were in internet marketing. We were selling this to life coaches. You will see later, I'll show you the slide. We sold this to numerologist lists, people that were into numerology. Good stuff. But that's the angle. The preface. Let me set your expectations for today's webinar. I believe what you will witness today is the single greatest webinar I've ever done. How's that for hype? By the way, call it. Call it. Do something and then call it. Is this hype? How's that for hype, right? Call yourself out more often. It's really powerful. I go, how? I've mulled over and thought about your problems and challenges more than you have in the last year. My hope is if I know your struggles better than even you know them, I can provide you better solutions to them than you can get anywhere else. Hell of a great close. I use this one a lot, right? Insights. First, here are the challenges I believe that you think get in your way. You think you're undercapitalized. You think your time is overleveraged, that you don't possess certain skills and abilities, and you're scared to get out of your comfort zone. If I had to do this again today, it'd be like, you're broke. You don't have any time. You don't think you can do anything worthwhile. I would just call it even more straight up. Back then, I was a little bit hesitant, believe it or not. I was still a little bit shy. Okay? First, here are the challenges that get in your way. And then I go on, and I dig that even deeper, and dig that even deeper, and dig that even deeper. Hell of a hook, isn't it? I mean, this is better than most people's very boring intros on webinars. But these are things that are really important. If we're selling something important, we got to give it its due. We got to treat it properly. Hook number 5, tall task. This is dramatic. It attacks resistance head on, and it's mission-based. Everyone loves a challenge, okay? Kevin Harrington and Mark Tim and Kevin Harrington. So Kevin Harrington was on the original Shark Tank. He was the guy that coined the phrase, but wait, there's more. We do this deal. It was in Sherman Oaks. It wasn't too far from here. I remember we were at a, what's the place that has like a menu that's like a phone book? Cheesecake Factory. Yeah, you guys know, right? We're at a Cheesecake Factory. And we were talking why this thing didn't work. Because I only converted mediocre on this webinar. And at the time, I was like, this might be the best webinar I've ever done. Because I was trying to sell something impossible. And I turned to Kevin and I said, here's the problem with Zig. Selling Zig Ziglar stuff. I go, we didn't have the heartbeat close. And he goes, what's the heartbeat close? I go, Zig didn't have a damn heartbeat. You can't sell dead people very easily. It's very hard to do. Yeah, he liked that. Kevin liked that, the heartbeat close. I'm like, yeah, the heartbeat close. If they don't have a heartbeat, you can't sell them. That's the damn close. But I converted at a mediocre rate. They tried this 3 different ways and they shot blanks. And so my mediocre result was one of the best webinars I'm ever proud of because the odds were insurmountable. And then I realized later on, 1-foot hurdles, not 10-foot hurdles. Let's find 1-foot hurdles to step over, not 10-foot hurdles to leap over. But this is how I started off. I kind of knew this going in. I said, I stand today before you with a tall task, a challenge, a great duty I feel obligated to perform at my A-level best, because if I do, I will have helped you and honored a legend, a man who has since moved on to heaven, but he's left on this earth an incredible treasure trove of wisdom. Wisdom, I would argue, that has been lost and forgotten among the chaos that is the modern life in which we currently find ourselves in. My goal, my job, my duty today is to bring it to the forefront so it can help you get everything you want out of business and life, because by helping you do that, it helps me get everything that I want. I come to you today with a message more timely than ever, more important than ever, more impactful than ever, yet a message that most people are more resistant to than ever. What do you think about that? Pretty good stuff, right? If you do nothing else, script out the first 150, 200 words of your webinar, because then you can preach like that. And that's the tall task. I stand before you today with the tall task. Very powerful stuff, right? Unfortunately, the task was too tall. I was teaching people on selling. You need to sell. Nobody wants to learn how to sell. I should have known better. My affinity got the best of me, because Zig did change my life. He really did when I was starting out. So we didn't make a logical decision. We made an emotional decision. Number 6, immediate expectation. So shared experience, topical, lots to cover, sets the tone. So these are some of the things. Sometimes it's okay to go for the jugular. Oftentimes it's preferred. If their life was about ready to fall apart and you could say something to stop that, you can't do it with kitty gloves. You have to say, listen, there's something going on here. If we don't deal with it, there may be some problems. So on Genius Webinars, my most ripped off webinar introduction ever, because I taught this in the book and then everybody bought the book and then they all just copied this one. So I laugh because they don't even use it right when they copy it. So you guys understand at least underneath. So when you do copy it, I want you to swipe as much from all of these as you possibly can. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just put it in your voice, right? Today's agenda. In our small time together, my goal is to make a big impact in the following ways. Confidence where there once was uncertainty. Clarity where there once was confusion. To unlock within you the true potential you have to make a dent in the universe. Yet if nothing else, I'm here today to make you lots of money. That's a damn good opener, right? We just go straight at it. So I like it because it does this big build up, big build up, big build up, and then the letdown is the thing that they want the most. So I get them excited, get them excited, get them excited. Oh, we're just here to make you rich. Sorry. Okay, whoops. But that's a really powerful thing that we're doing here. What I need from you, implementation. Nothing pains me more than giving you a solution, yet running into you years later still clinging hopelessly to your problem. Bob Proctor said it best, thoughts become things. If you can see it in your mind, you will hold it in your hand. So I want you to see it in your mind, you being successful so you can hold it in your hand. I want you to see yourself implementing what we teach today so you can hold the money in your hands. Do we have a deal? So we have the commitment, we have the tie down, we have it all set up right away. I've watched so many people copy that and they miss some of the important parts like the tie downs. And they miss the idea here is the whole purpose of this, because this is a teaching webinar. So Genius Webinars teaches more things in a pitch webinar than any other webinar I've ever done. And so I want them to see what I'm teaching and applying it. There's two types of learning. There's active learning and there's passive learning. Passive learning is you just sit there and say, oh, that's interesting, intellectually stimulating, oh, that's cool, that's whatever, right? Active learning is, ooh, I'm going to take what you just said right there and I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to apply that. I can see myself stepping into it and making it my own. And I'm trying to force active learning. I'm getting them to agree with me that if they see something, they will implement it. Because it pisses me off if I come in and I run into them 6 years later and they're like, I still haven't done a webinar yet, Jason. I don't want that. And so I'm letting them know that. So I'm getting them to agree with me up front, this is commitment, that they will implement. That's an easy thing that you can put on almost any webinar. If I show you the very best I can, will you use it? If you don't, that will break my heart. You don't want to break my heart, do you? So the Amazing.com promo. Today we're going to move fast and cover a lot in a little time. Specifically, and then I bang, 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 bang. Do giveaways still work? What it truly takes to rank your product on page 1 of Amazon. The little known truth about Amazon sponsored ad. Where keywords on your listing count and where they don't count, and more. The why. With all these libraries, why aren't there more millionaires? So we're setting the frame that information is not enough. These days I'd say with all these podcasts, why aren't there more millionaires? If I give you the what and the how, yet you don't have the why, we run a serious risk. That risk is you'll see the potential and the power, and yet still do nothing different than what you're doing today, and that's not acceptable to me. This is a hell of a good angle. You take this, what I call the stern stepfather approach, right? You're going to be successful, and that's just the way that it is. That's the attitude that I have when I write these intros. And you're like, yes, okay, sure. And I get more people successful from that frame than any other frame that I can really think of. Usually this is a good approach. And in this particular case, I'm calibrating the audience. This audience is somebody who's bought a $3,500 course or a $5,000 course, because it's sold for both price tags. And over 50% of this audience, I know for a fact, has not listed a single product yet on Amazon. So I have to take this approach with them. I'm going to show you all this cool stuff, but if you don't use it, you're going to get grounded. If you use it, we'll go out and have ice cream together. If you don't, you're going to have to clean your room. That's the attitude. That's not acceptable to me. When you set this and you say this is okay and this is not okay, it's amazing what compliance you can get. You're setting your boundaries. Product E-Class Brazil. So we went to Brazil for Product E-Class. Did some webinars over there. Now this is a webinar where people had to pay to be on it. So they paid $25 or 100 hayas, I think is how you say it over there, which is about $25. And the whole webinar was then designed to sell them a $500 product. Now these webinars are different. When people pay you for a webinar, now you have to train. So this is a 3.5 hour webinar. It's amazing. If people don't pay anything, good luck getting them to watch 1 minute. But if people pay you $5, they'll be upset if you promise them 3 hours of training and you only give them 2. When somebody pays anything for something, at least temporarily, the attention span for it increases significantly. It's insane. So this is what we did here. We had them pay to come to a webinar, and then the webinar had them buy something more, but everybody was super happy with what they paid for. It's actually a cool model, because you can sell a $500 product for $25, so they get a better deal. And then you can sell an even bigger product once you can demonstrate. Because the proof of how good you are, there's no better proof than doing something amazing for somebody. Everything else is secondary proof. Look at all the results I have. Look at all the cool people who like me, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Or, I just did something amazing for you. You want me to do it again? Give me your money. Much more effective. So in this case, what to expect? We're going to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. It will be recorded, though, so you can come back and watch it over and over again. We're going to give you everything you need to succeed. There will be nothing left out. You will, in fact, be able to be successful with just this training all by itself. Overwhelming. At first, it will seem like a lot, and it might even intimidate you. That is perfectly natural and okay. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. This is effective. I'll tell you why. Because so many people pretend that their audience isn't going to go through these pains, and that if they ignore it, it doesn't happen. It's better to bring it up. Yeah, you're going to be overwhelmed. Yeah, you're going to be scared. Now, we're telling them we're going to give them everything they need, because what they find out later, that information alone isn't enough. So it's a little bit of a tricky kind of setup. But in their model of reality right now, they think if I just have the information, that's enough. So we're going to give them all the information, and then they're going to understand it's not enough. Then we're going to sell them something beyond information. Coaching, templates, software, blah, blah, blah. What success looks like. Before you run, you walk. Before you walk, you stand. Before you stand, you crawl. Many people let perfect be the enemy of good, and as a result, they are guaranteed to fail. This is really good. We set up a dichotomy, if you will. You could be like these people who are successful, who do these things, or you could be like these people who suck, and they do these things. Which one do you want to be? I'm not telling you which one to be. You could decide for yourself, okay? And then I say, before there was this, the $9 million promotion, there was this, the $4 ebook, because we're teaching info products. So we're building up the stakes. Before they crawl, before they run, they have to crawl. Very powerful frame. And I love that, especially when you're in a market where you're up here and they're down here. Some of these intros, I'll show you when it comes time to position yourself. My positioning is unbelievable. Because I'm not famous. If I was famous, it would work, but I'm not famous, but I have all these accolades. So when I show them, you're like, that can't be true. Otherwise, I would have heard of you. So then I have to bring it back down. So I build myself up, and then I bring myself down. So in that case, it's like $10 million, but then it was $4. So now I can relate to them, okay? You can go with the standard opener. This one is pretty good. That's the 80-20 of hooks. Just benefit, 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 benefit. You want to tie the hope in with the pain as well, okay? So easy offline formula. First slide. Goes like this. The first slide on the webinar. On this webinar, you'll discover how a client of mine built a $1 million business in less than 90 days by giving away free sites. You'll also discover no-cost strategies that are specifically aimed not to get you high-paying clients, but do so anyway. Interesting, right? And more. That's it. That's the hook. Just a cool benefit. I mean, there's some intrigue in here. There's some open loops and all that kind of stuff, right? I go, first, I'm famous but not that famous, so let me sell you the best way I know how and why you should listen to me. And then I give a whole bunch of testimonials, okay? Same thing on Mobile Pro. So literally, I'm just showing you the hook on this one was one slide. That was it. I don't recommend you do this anymore because the first 5 minutes, half the people who've arrived are sleepwalking into the webinar. They don't even know where they're at. And the other half haven't even shown up yet. So I don't like doing webinars where we sit on for the first 5 minutes and lollygag and say, hey, we're going to let everybody get in, because you're reinforcing that being late is an okay behavior. I like to reward people who are early. So what I typically will do in the first 5 minutes now, this is super advanced stuff. Don't do this yet, but one day, someday, maybe you can do this. The first 5 minutes, it appears I'm doing something interesting that's engaging and captivating when really I know that if we cut the first 5 minutes off, it won't make any difference. So simultaneously being interesting, yet having nothing to say. That's kind of what I try to do now, okay? But back then, because I did this one like in 2012, it was just like on this webinar, sometimes you're in a pressure cooker situation. Hey, I got this affiliate. They need a new webinar for this new offer by Tuesday. It's Sunday. Oh shit, what do I do? Well, you do something like this. WP Mobile Pro, same thing. On this webinar, you discover why tiny little mobile sites might be the hottest thing for anyone who wants to make some good money. 4 methods for getting a $500 check 24 hours from now or less, and that's just on the front end. How to get that money for about an hour of work, but first, and then I do a little bit of a commitment, tie down. What we're going to show you is so powerful you could have clients before the end of this webinar if you take action. So I want you to say, yes, Jason, I commit to getting $500 additional in my bank account tomorrow, and I'm willing to take a bit of action, even if it's a tad bit outside of my comfort zone. So I go for commitments. I don't do this as much anymore. I probably should. Sometimes I think I get too fancy for my own good. I have implied commitments these days that I use more often, but I'm going back and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, I think I should just be more direct. Get commitments, get tie downs. My openers are almost always like, I'm going to show you this thing, but before I do, I need you to agree that you're going to use it. And that's where I really discovered this early on in 2007, because I was like, man, people just, it does upset me that they don't use the stuff that I give them. So if I can get them to commit to it, super good. Now, we should do this for everything that we do. But, like if there's not money on the line, I get less motivated. When there's real money to be made on a webinar, then I do what I should be doing anyway. Okay? QR control. This is a great one. I think this is one of the best. These are bullet points, if you haven't noticed. Like the thing that can improve your tactical capabilities the most is writing good bullet points. QR control. This is something we did for Jack Mize. We came in, we bought his business, and I wrote some webinars, and he delivered them. So I had to write them in Jack's voice. On this webinar, I will share with you a strategy using a brand new technology you think you know, but it's not what you think, with an approach that our beta testers have half-heartedly applied that has resulted in several checks from 450, 500, 1,000 or more. So they're like, ooh, what's this? This has so many open loops in it that it's insane. By the end of this webinar, you'll be able to call yourself a local marketing expert. My definition of an expert, you know more than your prospects and you can help your prospects. Does that sound good? Yes. Okay, what is that? There's actually more to this. I'll show you more later because I thought the techniques used were applicable in a different step. But that was like, ooh, you think you know, but you don't know. Yeah, anybody remember The Real World? That, like reality TV 1.0. You think you know, but you have no idea. I don't know. I was a little kid, and that phrase from the intro stuck with me. So I always think about that. You think you know, but you have no idea. Here it is. The moving parts. We'll tap into a solution to a major problem akin to businesses flushing money down the toilet. We'll present it to people who instantly get it, so there is no convincing or selling or closing of anyone. And we'll offer in a unique way never seen before. Seriously, if you think you figured it out, you're missing the most important part. These are open loops. People don't understand what open loops are. It's where you open up part of the idea, but you don't close the full idea until later. People teach open loops. This is real open loop stuff. We'll tap into a solution to a major problem akin to businesses flushing money down the toilet. They're like, ooh, wow, that's a mental picture that sticks out. That's good. We'll present it to people who instantly get it, so there's no convincing, selling, or closing of anyone. This kills the objection. I can't sell anything to anyone, right? We'll offer it in a unique way never seen before. This is the hardcore mystery angle of the hook. And they're like, okay, gosh. I'm like, gosh, I want to write more bullet points like that. But I'm out of practice. And I say more specifically, we're going to sell a certain type of mobile marketing strategy that has been up until now completely ignored by both local businesses and consultants, and the best prospects are hidden in plain sight. Just listen to how we're stacking all the benefits. But they don't know anything at this point. They have to figure it out. We're giving them targets to look for. Give your prospects targets to look for in the content of your webinar. Now, I write these at the end. I don't write these at the beginning. After I create the content, I go back and I write these. Okay? Here's another one we did for Greg. So Greg was a client of mine, published a webinar of his that ran so long, affiliates refused to promote it. Not because it didn't work. They were just tired of promoting the same thing over and over again. So then he hired me. We went back and we rewrote the son of a bitch over again, just so they could promote something new. That's how powerful this one was, right? But this is how we start this one out. Assumptions. If you're not a professional, would you still use a site like LinkedIn if it meant thousands of dollars a month easily? If you don't offer services, would you offer a service? If it was turnkey, you could learn it in less than an afternoon and it could make you $500 with just a few minutes of fulfillment. And would you maintain an open mind even if you've never considered using LinkedIn in the past, or if you've already used LinkedIn and are bringing in some preconceived notions, could you put those on hold if it meant a different approach that could get a better result? So notice these themes. I'm using them over and over again. Everybody who comes into your webinar has a bias to how they're going to make a decision. And until you clear the calculator, so to speak, good chance selling them, right? If everybody thinks money is evil and you're trying to sell them how to make money, you lost. Don't care how good your webinar is. But if you could get them to say, would you be open if you could be shown some evidence that could prove contrary, that money might not be evil, would you at least entertain the idea? Everybody will say yes to that. And now you've opened up the opportunity to actually put something in their brain and have it stick, okay? And then there's other hooks. You can lead with pain, 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 pain. So for the wholesale formula with Dylan, when I wrote that webinar, now this was during the pandemic, and this was like global supply chain disruptions and Amazon shutting the doors on anything other than essential products. We went in on the pain. And I look back and I'm thinking we should just always go with pain first. These days, I'm always just going with pain first, because pain before gain, right? Get them out of hell before you sell them the plan to heaven. That's how I think, right? So pain, 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 pain. So I hit there. The consumable system, my latest webinar that I just did, we start with that left field hook, and that leans into what I was telling you earlier. Say cool stuff for 5 minutes that doesn't really mean anything, but is interesting. An intriguing question. So it's great if you can ask a really intriguing question as a hook. The pressure cooker scenario. We did a webinar where it's like if you absolutely positively had to make money in 72 hours or less, or your family would starve kind of scenario, maybe not that hype, but something like that, what would you do? Recent developments, so you'll see webinars where disruptions to the market, the hook is the disruption. Hey, this just happened, what are you going to do about it? That's why I like webinars so much, because they're so malleable and they're so timely. Some of the best webinars I've ever done, something happened on Monday, I don't have a slide deck, I just show up on a webinar on Tuesday. I'm first to market, first to service. SOS, you know what SOS is, right? To me, SOS is speed of service. That's what it stands for to me. Speed of service, SOS. How can I be of service faster than my competition? And the webinar is so powerful. Fill in the blanks. When we partnered with Ezra on that one, I'll tell you some more about that one in a bit. We start that off with fill in the blanks for me. And I show them some stuff and they have to fill in the blanks. So that's a kind of a twist on the quiz, right? And then to keep it between us. I don't like to use this one because it's gimmicky if it's not true. But if you truly have something that should be kept a secret, then that's really powerful. Don't share this with anybody. Most people use that as like, okay, keep it between us and the 2 million other people that I'm trying to put this out in front of on the internet, right? Well, that's disingenuous. But if it's truly a situation where don't share this, find those situations and then use those in your marketing. And that's really, really effective, okay? So really, how do we create our hooks? Swipe from mine as much as you possibly can. Now I have a very distinct voice, so unless you can pull off the voice I have, change it a little bit. I'm very direct in those ways. But swipe the specific structures. If you don't pay me, I'm upset if you swipe from me. If you do pay me, you can swipe all you want, right? That's my attitude. Seek context specific. So you'll have to calibrate. This is a word I use all over and over and over and over again, okay? So I'm at the Hare Krishna temple, and I made a large donation, and so they're like, hey, what do you do? They start talking to me, and next thing I know, I'm sitting there with the temple president giving them marketing advice, because they want to, I'm loving it. I was the most nervous I ever was in my life for a consult. And so we're down there at the temple, It's in Culver City, right there on LA, Culver City. Like if you walk across the street, you're in LA, you walk across the street, you're in Culver City, and I'm giving them advice. So I have to calibrate. I can't use the terms I use to marketers. I have to put it to terms that are understood. So I'm using spiritual terms. So seek context specific. The more specific you can make the context, the more effective it is. And then you can combine components and hooks and pieces. You could say, okay, I can do this, a little bit of this over here, a little bit of that over here, a little bit of this over here, a little bit of that over there. That works. You can mix all this stuff together. And like I said, work backwards. Create the hook last unless you manufacture hooks, which we'll talk about here in a second. Because there are times when you can set it up so you can have a hook before you ever create anything. And those are the best times ever from a marketing perspective. The plan is a great one. We didn't have a product in search of a hook. I had a hook before I had a product. I didn't even do that webinar. Dan did most of that webinar. I did the closing on the webinar, which is pretty important, but Dan did everything else. But I had the hook in advance. We set up the situation where we had 18 one-on-ones and we could show all of their portfolio 100% in public. That's the hook. The hook is, hey, let me just show you everybody's results. Then you can decide if you want this or not. What a great hook. Launchpad. The hook was intentionally designed. Exclusivity and a massive supply and demand skew. So we're like, this is the greatest software ever, but nobody can have it. The hook was already built. Ramp Engine, this was another one. So this is where I met Alex Hormozi. Alex will tell the story occasionally. Sometimes he'll say my name, sometimes he won't, about how I gave him this piece of advice. I walked up to Alex, and him and Layla had just broken through. They'd been grinding forever, and they just turned a corner, and they knew it was going to be blue skies from there on out. And I went up to him. I don't know why, because I usually don't give unsolicited advice, and I said to him, I said to Alex, I said, when it's easy, that's when you go hard. Because I learned that in ASM. All these other affiliates were like, dude, I'm not doing anything, and I'm making $1 million. This is the greatest thing ever. And Will and I are like, dude, it's raining money. Why are you sleeping in the house? It's raining money outside. Get a damn bucket. And I sensed that in Alex. Now, I think he would have went hard anyway. I don't know. It just seems in his DNA. But that's what I said to him, and then they went hard. I might have created a monster. I don't know. But at that same place, it was Russell Brunson. He did this Pirates Cove in Vegas kind of a deal. There was another guy there. His name was Trey Llewellyn. And Trey had, at the time, ran more products and more sales through ClickFunnels than everybody, including Russell. I'm like, I want to do a deal with this guy. I don't care what we sell. The story is the hook. The guy that's outsold everybody on ClickFunnels. So proof before product. So I think in those terms very often. How do we create the hook from the proof? And then from the proof, we can build any product that we want. Because then people will understand how powerful the product is. Okay? Other considerations. Hooks are more important for the replay. I make more money on the replays than the webinars. So we need the hook because that first 30 seconds somebody watches a video is the make or break. So we want a hook that's really compelling for the replay. This is why when we do our webinars now, I have this section where I say, okay, after we do our chitter chatter, I say, all right, I'm going to take a deep breath in. I'd love for you to join me right now. And then we'll start. So breathe in with me now. Hold it. Release. Let's begin. And then my team knows anything I say after let's begin is where the cut point for the replay is. And then whatever I say after let's begin is scripted, at least the first sentence or the first 100 words. Because I know on the replay, we're going to grab them right by the neck. Boom. The hook to get them to the webinar doesn't have to be the same as the webinar hook itself. Two different hooks. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. Okay? And then calibration, as we mentioned, ad hoc. Okay? Here's a great example of calibration. Welcome. Thanks for attending this live web-based training. It's not a webinar anymore. It's a live web-based training. Today we'll cover an opportunity and a process that has helped empower a lot of people to achieve in a short amount of time their full wealth potential. Not a lot of money, full wealth potential, okay? Also, the important reason why I'm sharing this. Before we start, though, a quick guide to the technology. This is where you can ask questions. We will also send things to you in the chat. And my name is Jason Fladlin. I'm a 5'11", a combination perfect for attracting wealth and teaching others how to do the same. This is the numerology list, right? They've never been on a webinar before. Most of them haven't. And so I'm calibrating. I'm not starting with a crazy hook. I'm starting with this is the chat box. You're Alice in Wonderland. Where the hell am I right now? You're in a webinar. Everything's going to be okay. And then I took the same test that they had like 1 million opt-ins for this test. You know, what's your score? I can't remember what it is now. So I went through the same process that I knew most of my prospects had went through. The opt-in, the funnel, the report, and I discovered I'm a 511 one, whatever the hell that is. But it said in the report that they're perfect for attracting wealth and teaching others how to do the same. It literally said that, which maybe there's some truth to it after all. Okay? But I'm calibrating. To this audience, they don't know what a webinar is. They're confused. So I'm easing them in before I go for the kill. And I'm speaking their language. Shared experience, right? Very powerful stuff. This is the thing I see that is the laziest with people on webinars is they don't calibrate. All you got to do is change a couple slides. That's it. So when we sold the same thing to the options traders with John Carter, we changed it. I would ask them, hey, would you go into a market where you could only buy and never sell? And they say, no. I go, just to be clear, you wouldn't go into a market where you could only buy stuff and never sell it. And they say, no. I go, one more time, just so we're on the same wavelength. You would not go into a market where you can only buy and never sell. And they're like, Jason, are you stupid? No, of course we wouldn't do it. I go, okay, good to know. By the way, who here shops on Amazon? Everybody. Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's a market where you can only buy, but you can't sell, which is fascinating because 57% of the profits on Amazon are from third-party sellers, people just like you or me. And they're like, what? And that's how we get into that market. We put it into the language that they understand. When we did all the webinars with Bob Proctor, we calibrated to his language. I did do a giveaway on that one. That was a webinar where I did do a giveaway. I had a first-generation Think and Grow Rich. And Bob Proctor walks around, that's his Bible, when he was on this earth and talk about it all the time. So I said, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give this away to somebody. Yeah, that was good. That was really good. So yeah, I will do it sometimes if it makes sense. Whew, bottom line, I spent a lot of the time on the hook. A lot of time on the hook. I try to create the hook before the product or the webinar, ideally, but when I started, I kept it simple. So, training wheels, and then you build up and you go on from there, okay?